In a small medieval village, people freely enjoyed the river's water. The children laughed and played, splashing in the gentle current. Elderly villagers shared stories beneath the old oak tree. Everything seemed perfect, until one stranger arrived. The stranger wore a long coat and carried a small chest. He claimed he had discovered a way to improve the village. Curious villagers gathered, intrigued by his confident tone. One young boy whispered, "Should we really trust him?" The stranger spoke loudly. "From now on, water will cost a coin." The villagers gasped, confused and angry at such an idea. A young girl shouted, "But water was always free." The boy frowned, feeling the fairness of the past slipping away. Some villagers reluctantly handed him coins, hoping he was right. Others refused, gathering at the old oak for counsel. An elderly woman said softly, "Greed changes everything it touches." Her voice trembled, but her words carried wisdom and truth. The boy wandered to the riverbank, tears in his eyes. He remembered the laughter that had once filled this place. The girl followed, holding a small wooden bucket. Together they wondered how one man's idea had caused so much pain. The stranger smiled, counting the coins with satisfaction. He had created a monopoly where none had existed. Villagers whispered among themselves, worried about tomorrow. The young girl clenched her fists, determined not to be silenced. The boy spoke up, voice quivering but firm. "We can fix this." The villagers turned, curious about his unexpected courage. He pointed to the river. "It belongs to everyone, not him." A murmur of agreement began, slowly spreading through the crowd. The elderly woman stepped forward, nodding at the boy. "Let us remind him that fairness cannot be bought," she said. The girl echoed, "The river is life. Life should be free." The stranger's smile faltered, sensing the villagers' rising unity. Night fell, but the villagers stayed, planning quietly. The boy and girl gathered allies, young and old alike. Candles flickered in windows, symbolizing hope and resolve. The stranger watched, realizing his control was beginning to waver. The next morning, the villagers gathered by the riverbank again. The boy spoke first. "We must show him that the river is ours." The girl nodded, holding a rope to mark the river's boundary. Even the elders joined, their faces determined and serious. The stranger appeared, frowning at the organized crowd. "Why are you here without paying?" he demanded loudly. A young man replied, voice strong. "This river belongs to everyone." The crowd murmured agreement, a wave of courage spreading. The stranger tried to intimidate them, waving his coins, but the villagers stood firm, unafraid of his threats. A woman stepped forward, voice calm yet commanding. "Leave now." The stranger hesitated, noticing the unity he could not break. Children ran along the river, cheering and splashing freely. The boy whispered to the girl, "We can't let him win." She smiled, a spark of bravery lighting her face. Even the youngest ones seemed to understand what was at stake. The stranger, frustrated, sought advice from his chest of tricks. He pulled out a small bell, claiming it would enforce rules. But no one paid attention, laughter and shouts filling the air. The villagers' joy was louder than his threats could ever be. An old blacksmith raised his hammer, declaring, "Tools and work are ours." Everyone joined, showing that the village had strength together. The girl raised her voice. "Greed cannot rule us," the boy added. "We remember what was free and we won't forget." The stranger stepped back, seeing resistance he hadn't expected. He tried to reason, but the villagers refused to listen. The river flowed, untouched by his coins or commands. Even the wind seemed to carry the villagers' defiance. Night returned, but no one left the riverbank this time. Candles and torches lit the water's edge with a warm glow. Families told stories of rivers that belonged to everyone. The stranger watched silently, realizing his plans had failed. The boy turned to the girl, whispering, "We did it together." She nodded, eyes shining with pride and relief. The village felt alive again, the river's laughter echoing. Even the stars seemed to twinkle brighter above their unity. The stranger left quietly that night, plotting secretly in the shadows. He whispered to himself, "I will find another way to control them." But the villagers slept peacefully, unaware of his lingering schemes. The boy and girl sat by the river, feeling victorious and free. Morning came, birds singing over the calm, flowing water. The girl suggested, "Let's plant flowers along the riverbank." The boy agreed, picking wildflowers and placing them carefully. Elderly villagers watched, smiling at the renewed spirit of their home. A traveling merchant arrived, noticing the lively village. He asked, "Why is this village so cheerful and free?" The boy explained, "We refuse to let greed take our river." The merchant nodded, impressed by their courage and unity. The stranger returned a week later, this time with a large map. He claimed, "I have discovered a treasure hidden in the river." The villagers laughed, shaking their heads at his endless tricks. The girl said softly, "Some treasures are meant to be shared, not sold." The boy stepped forward, voice firm. "We know the river's value." The stranger's face twisted, frustrated that his schemes failed again. An elder woman added, "Your greed blinds you to what truly matters." The villagers stood together, stronger than any money or threat. Children played along the river, weaving through flowers and reeds. The boy and girl held hands, proud of what they had protected. The wind carried laughter, a sound the stranger could not buy. Even the river seemed to dance, celebrating its freedom once more. The stranger, growing desperate, tried one last plan at dawn. He brought a large net, claiming it could control the river. The villagers watched quietly, refusing to show any fear. The boy whispered to the girl, "We will not let him win this time." The girl nodded, gripping the wooden bucket as if it were a sword. Elders stepped forward, their presence firm and commanding. The stranger cast the net, but it tangled in reeds and broke. Laughter erupted from the villagers, echoing across the river. A young woman shouted, "The river flows for all, not coins!" Even the smallest children joined, clapping and stomping their feet. The stranger fumed, realizing force could not defeat their unity. The boy held up a flower, symbolizing peace and resistance. The girl stepped forward, voice strong and unwavering. "Leave now." The stranger hesitated, the villager's courage shining brighter than his greed. An old man added, "Power is meaningless without respect." The wind seemed to answer, rustling the trees in agreement. The boy turned to the villagers, "Let's rebuild what he tried to take." They cleared debris and repaired the riverbanks together. Flowers were planted, and children's laughter filled every corner. Even the sun seemed warmer, shining over a village reborn. By evening, the stranger had disappeared into the distant woods. The villagers celebrated, grateful for their river and freedom. Stories were told around fires, teaching lessons of courage and fairness. The boy and girl smiled, knowing they had changed their world forever. Natasha. Days passed, and the village thrived, filled with laughter and work. The boy and girl became symbols of bravery for everyone. Even travelers stopping by admired the village's unity. The river sparkled, a reminder of what they had protected. The stranger, far away, plotted once more, his eyes full of envy. He whispered to the wind, "I will find another trick." But the villagers were wise now, ready to defend their home. The elders trained everyone, teaching courage and strategy. One afternoon, a storm approached, dark clouds rolling overhead. The river swelled, threatening to flood the village streets. The boy shouted, "Everyone to the riverbank! Help each other!" The girl ran beside him, guiding children to safety. Villagers worked together, using ropes, planks, and carts. Even the animals seemed to sense the urgency, helping in their way. By nightfall, the river calmed, the village standing strong. Everyone cheered, proud of what they had achieved together. The stranger arrived the next day, expecting chaos and fear. Instead, he found a community united and stronger than ever. A young man confronted him, voice steady. "You will never rule us." The stranger realized finally that greed could never defeat unity. The boy and girl sat by the river, exhausted but smiling. The river flowed freely, its song louder than ever before. They knew their village had learned an unbreakable lesson. Even the trees seemed to sway in approval of their courage. Weeks passed, and life in the village returned to its peaceful rhythm. The boy and girl often walked along the river, reflecting on past events. Villagers told stories of courage and the lessons learned from greed. Even travelers carried tales of the village's bravery to faraway lands. The stranger watched from a distance, no longer daring to interfere. He muttered, "Perhaps some things cannot be controlled." Meanwhile, the villagers celebrated festivals with laughter and song. The river became the heart of their community, full of life and joy. One evening, the girl suggested planting a small orchard nearby. The boy agreed, and soon rows of trees lined the riverbank. Children helped water the saplings, learning the value of care. Elders smiled, proud to see traditions of kindness being passed on. A traveling bard arrived, curious about the village's happiness. He asked the boy and girl to share their story with everyone. The children spoke boldly. "We protected what belonged to all." The bard nodded, promising to spread their tale far and wide. The river glistened under the golden sunset, a symbol of freedom. Villagers gathered for an evening feast, celebrating life and unity. The boy and girl laughed, knowing they had made a lasting difference. The stranger remained unseen, his plans forgotten by the river's song. Autumn arrived, painting the village in shades of gold and red. The boy and girl gathered fallen leaves, weaving them into decorations. Villagers shared stories by the fires, warm and cozy against the chill. The river sparkled in the evening sun, reflecting their happy faces. One day, a messenger arrived from a nearby town, breathless and anxious. He said, "Your village's courage is known everywhere." The girls smiled. "We only did what was right for everyone." The boy added, "And we will continue to protect what is ours." The stranger, now older and wiser, appeared at the edge of the forest. He watched silently, perhaps realizing he had learned something too. The children ignored him, busy playing games by the river. Elders shook their heads, smiling at how harmless he had become. Villagers decided to build a small bridge over the river. The boy and girl helped design it, ensuring it was strong and beautiful. Everyone contributed, carrying stones and tying wooden beams together. By sunset, the bridge stood tall, a symbol of their hard work and unity. That evening, the boy said softly, "Our village is stronger than ever." The girl nodded, "And the river reminds us of what truly matters." The wind carried the sound of laughter, rustling leaves in harmony. Even the stars twinkled brighter, as if applauding their courage and care. Natasha, winter arrived, covering the village in a blanket of snow. The river flowed beneath the ice, quietly singing its familiar song. Children skated and played, their laughter echoing through the crisp air. The boy and girl helped elders light fires, keeping everyone warm. The stranger appeared once more, this time carrying a small lantern. He said softly, "I see now that greed cannot replace love." The villagers paused, surprised by his sudden humility. The girl responded gently, "Kindness is stronger than any coin." The boy offered a hand. "You can join us if your heart is true." The stranger hesitated, then nodded, a small smile forming. He realized that community and care were worth far more than wealth. Elders whispered among themselves, pleased with this unexpected change. The village held a winter festival, with music, dancing, and cheer. Everyone, including the stranger, joined in celebrating together. The river gleamed under the moonlight, reflecting joy on its surface. The children placed floating candles, a symbol of hope and unity. Stories were told of past struggles, teaching courage to the young. The boy and girl listened proudly, knowing they had shaped the village. The stranger helped carry firewood, now part of a shared effort. Even the stars above seemed to shine brighter on this peaceful night. Spring arrived, bringing blossoms and a fresh scent to the village. The river swelled gently with melted snow, lively and full of promise. The boy and girl planted new flowers, symbolizing renewal and hope. Villagers worked together, repairing paths and cleaning the riverbanks. The stranger now helped without hesitation, quietly earning trust. He said softly, "I understand now the strength of unity." The villagers welcomed him cautiously, mindful of lessons learned. The boy replied, "Actions matter more than words alone." A festival was planned to celebrate the river and village life. Musicians played cheerful tunes, while dancers twirled in colorful dresses. Children carried lanterns, representing light in every heart. The elders watched proudly, knowing the village had grown wiser. One evening, the girl noticed a rare bird near the riverbank. She whispered to the boy, "Nature blesses us when we care." The boy nodded. And we must protect it, just like the river. The stranger observed quietly, feeling a deep sense of belonging. Villagers gathered for a feast, sharing food, stories, and laughter. The boy raised his glass. To courage, fairness, and unity, the girl echoed, and to the river which belongs to all of us. The river sparkled beneath the setting sun, reflecting a bright future. The final morning dawned with golden sunlight over the river. Villagers gathered for one last celebration, joyful and proud. The boy and girl stood together, smiling at what they had achieved. The stranger joined them, finally understanding the value of community. Elders spoke, sharing wisdom and reminding everyone of lessons learned. The river flowed freely, carrying stories of courage and unity. Children played along its banks, laughing without fear or worry. Flowers bloomed and birds sang, celebrating life itself. The boy whispered to the girl, "We changed more than just a river," she replied. "We showed that kindness and fairness are stronger than greed." The villagers cheered, raising their voices in a song of hope. The stranger nodded, humbled by the love and resilience he witnessed. That evening, the river reflected the glowing lights of lanterns. Families shared food, stories, and laughter in a warm embrace. The boy and girl promised to protect the village forevermore. The stranger quietly helped, finally part of something greater than himself. As stars twinkled above, the village slept peacefully at last. The river whispered its gentle song, a reminder of freedom won. And so the tale of courage, fairness, and unity came to a close. Remember, dear listener, every small act of bravery can change the world. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to Sleepless Tales. Stay tuned for more stories, adventures, and truths that touch the heart. This village's tale will live on, inspiring generations to come. Thank you for watching, and may your own river of life always flow freely.